Wow, it's been a solid minute since I last made a video, hasn't it? Well, with Season 22 being less than a week away, I figured we need to talk about something that Bungie has been lacking in their core game modes. Gambit. Back in Destiny 1, we would see a variety of different colors of enemy races on each world. Different Fallen Houses, different Vex Collectives, different Hive Broods, and different Cabal Legions. Each strike and each story would have a variety of different factions. But in Destiny 2, that's all gone, with every enemy race being distilled down to one faction in core game modes and on worlds, with a few exceptions here and there. We all know this, but why do I mention it? Well, I have been in the works of this video since before Destiny 2's State of the Game article, and when I saw Bungie had no plans for Gambit other than implementing Lucent Hive and Shadow Legion, I got a bit agitated, to say the least. But when diving into the lore of Destiny and the making of this video, there are still many enemy factions that are present that we rarely or don't ever see. Presumed abandoned Cabal Legions, re-emerging Fallen Houses, time-lost Vex Collectives. All of these enemy variants could be applied to different or new Gambit maps based on their original locations in Destiny 1. We could see Soul Divisive Vex or Blind Legion Cabal on Nessus, or encounter Virgo Prohibition Vex and Shadow Legion on Mars, to name a couple. There is a whole list of enemy factions that we rarely or don't ever see, and the revisions I propose to Gambit would change this, and I would believe would revitalize the game mode. If you don't care about the revisions that I would make to the current Gambit system, skip to this timestamp or click to the next chapter of the video down below. The first revision is the revision of enemy races on current maps, and the unvaulting of both Reef maps, not just Cathedral of Scars. If Shaxx has the technology to simulate several Crucible maps on worlds that we have lost, Drifter can simulate a single Gambit map. Sadly, this is one thing I don't see will ever happen. The additions of enemy factions to Gambit maps that we face in the story of Destiny is essential for cohesive world building across an entire game. Seeing only one collective of Vex in Gambit when we know we have faced several in the story is lazy, as an example, but this can be fixed. For the Emerald Coast EDZ map, we could see House Dusk Fallen like always, but we could also continue to see Red Legion Remnants and Shadow Legion Cabal, as well as continue to see Xivu Arath's Hive. For Legion's Folly, the Nessus map, we could see both House Dusk and House Salvation Fallen, give them a little bit of an in into the story world building, continue to see Red Legion Remnants, and have the Heathen Correction Vex, which is the standard Vex type, and Soul Divisive Vex. For New Arcadia, the Mars map, we could see both Frozen and Lucent Hive, see Shadow Legion Cabal replacing the Red Legion Remnants on that map, and see Soul Divisive and Virgo Prohibition Vex, replacing the standard Vex variants, the Heathen Corrective. For the Deep Six Titan map, we could continue to see House Dusk Fallen, see a change from the Scorn being Fanatic's Chosen, the Orange Scorn, to Rolk's Contingent, the Purple Scorn, and then see both Lucent and Xivu Arath Hive. And for the Cathedral of Scars in the Dreaming City, we would pretty much see no changes to the Fallen Hive and Scorn enemies there. Alright Guardians, now it's time to get to the meat and potatoes of this video. Gambit Perfected, a name of the Gambit mode that has been floating around the internet for the past couple years. In Destiny 2, we currently only have 4 playable Gambit maps, which isn't that fun for replayability. Meanwhile, Crucible has 25 playable maps, with 8 vaulted ones, as well as several different game modes. But I'm beginning to get ahead of myself there. We'll see that later in the video. I spent a couple days running AI renderings of potential new Gambit maps using Midjourney, and I've cranked out 5 Gambit maps for the 4v4 mode. Bungie, I'm talking directly to you here. If anyone of you ever stumble across this video, take take it. All the ideas, if it means the game mode that you have given up on gets some form of resurgence. The first new map is one that many have been asking for since we landed on the icy surface. A Europa map named Braytech Facility S1V Alpha. Get it? I made a little Siva nod there. On this map, we would face House Salvation Fallen and both Heathen Corrective and Precursor Vex. The next map would be located in Old Chicago at an Ishtar research facility named Divisive Anomaly. We would face Soul Divisive and Descendant Vex there, Shadow Legion or Blind Legion Cabal, as well as House Dusk or House Devils Fallen. The next map would be in Savathun's Throne World, in Queen's Bailey, known as the Overgrown Cathedral. There, Guardians would face Lucent Hive, Shadow Legion Cabal, as well as either Fanatics Chosen or Rolk's Contingent Scorn. Due to the recency and nature of Neomuna, a Gambit map there would be perfect, the Neolite District. We would face Heathen Corrective Vex, Shadow Legion Cabal, and Rolk's Contingent Scorn. And finally, back a little bit closer to home, on a map based out of an old colony outpost near the Sea of Tranquility on our moon, Outpost 317. There, we would face Soul Divisive and Descendant Vex, Hidden Swarm or Lucent Hive, as well as House Dusk or House Exile Fallen. These 5 maps would bring the total number of Gambit rotation maps up to 10, starting in the final shape, and is something the player base needs to respark any interest in the game mode. Well, thanks for watching, and... oh, that's weird. The script says something else. Oh, there's still a big chunk of this video left. Wonder what that could be. Alright. What is this you say? Another Gambit game mode? Welcome to Gambit Warfronts, a 6v6 true PvEVP experience that is inspired by Halo 5's Warzone game mode. This new Gambit game type would only have one massive map, roughly 9 times the size of a traditional Gambit map. But unlike in regular Gambit, where there are 2 identical parallel maps where each team kills enemies individually, the map is shared to where you may be facing other Guardians at the same time you're facing the enemy race on multiple different fronts. But that's not all for this mode. If you remember Combined Arms from Destiny 1, you know where I'm going with this. Due to the size of the map, vehicles will be necessary for moving around. Sparrows can be summoned anywhere, as well as Drake tanks and interceptors that would have spawn pads located in a couple varying positions around the map on cooldown timers. But Guardians won't be the only ones who have be hitting vehicles. When facing Cabal and Fallen, each summon their own tanks as mini-bosses, while Vex summon massive Cyclopses and Hive may summon Tomb Ships in a sub-event within the game mode known as high-value sieges. High-value sieges happen twice during the 15-minute game, roughly every 5 minutes. During a siege, a highlighted front appears like a public event and contains a mini-boss and a few high-level targets as guards. But Epsilsci, I hear you asking, what about moats? That's like Drifter's whole thing. How would banking work? Unlike regular Gambit, there's no capped moat limit. If you got moats, keep banking them. Essentially, how it'll work is every 50 moats contributes to 1 level of Primeval Slayer. At the 12-minute mark, a Primeval spawns on opposite sides of the map, 1 for each team, with no envoys to protect it. And after every minute of you fighting it, you'll gain a level Primeval Slayer. With no envoys in the mode, the Primeval will have a slightly larger health pool, but your team will get Primeval right off rip. Once the 12-minute marks hits, Any PvP kills count towards healing the enemy primeval as well. With 2 banks on the map, one for each team, siphoning moats and blockers will also still be involved, as well as seeing the return of giant blockers from Gambit Prime. But that's enough of the boring logistics. Let's get to the new maps. The first new Warfront map is where we first awoke as Guardians, in the Cosmodrome, where the first front is known as Steel Mill Steppes. On this map, we would face House Dusk or House Devil Fallen, Xivu Arath Hive, and both Red Legion Remnant or Shadow Legion Cabal. The next Warfront would be near an old colony satellite station on Mars known as Broken Frontier. We would face Soul Divisive, Virgo Prohibition, He's in Corrective Vex, Shadow Legion or Dust Giant Remnant Cabal, as well as Frozen or Lucent Hive. Another Warfront will be on one of the moons far above Mars' surface, at an old Cabal fleet base known as Burner's Rebirth. There, Guardians would face Lucent Hive, Shadow Legion, Blind Legion Remnants, Red Legion Remnants, or Dust Giant Remnant Cabal, as well as Virgo Prohibition, Descendant, or Precursor Vex. The final new Warfront map would be located in a former Ishtar facility, now Vex Citadel, known as Ishtar Site VG4 on Venus. We would face Heathen Corrective Vex, Shadow Legion Cabal, and Rolk's Contingent Scorn. However, even though I have all these ideas that could help benefit the Gambit game mode, there's one thing blocking the community from ever seeing this, and that's Bungie itself. Gambit was a failed game mode after Joker's Wild. Bungie's neglection of the mode and then subsequent stripping of it is a primary reason why it died off. Comparing Gambit's submenu to the Vanguard or Crucible one, it looks pathetic. Then Bungie going on and saying that Gambit doesn't have the player base to justify improvements is so stupid, as they were the ones to strip it of all that it was and then complain about it. Bungie, give players the control to make their own maps. Yeah, I said it. You made a Forge system in the past, back in your youth when you made Halo. You can do it again. Give players access to a Forge-like mode with blank maps of all the worlds we have visited in the Destiny franchise, as well as full access to the assets library in a controlled game mode. This has been a request by many in the community for years, to a point where people in the Halo community are making Destiny 2 maps before you are. Please, Bungie. These changes and new additions would see a massive and consistent uptick in the player base and community morale. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least put in more effort than you are now. Thank you to everybody for watching and sticking with me through all this. I currently have a poll up on my channel right now and in the description for what my next video like this should be, and I really love your input. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and commenting. Now that I graduated with my master's degree, I have a lot more time on my hand, and I'm going to try to put out a video once a weekend going forward. So, I hope to see you all again. See you Starside.